Ancient Egypt was one of the most influential civilizations in human history, lasting over 3,000 years. And at the heart of this civilization were the pharaohs. In today's video, we will be going deep into the mind of a pharaoh through 12 psychological secrets of ancient Egypt's divine rulers. If you are ready to uncover the truth behind the myths and legends, let us begin. 1. Pharaohs were seen as living gods. The pharaoh wasn't just a king. He was considered the incarnation of Horus, the falcon-headed god of kingship. This divine status created psychological obedience among the people. Religion and statecraft were intertwined. The pharaoh was not merely a leader, but a god among men. His word was law, not just because he was the king, but because he was seen as an intermediary between the mortal realm and the divine. This belief system shaped the mindset of the Egyptians and made the pharaoh's rule absolute. The concept of divine kingship was a psychological tool that allowed the pharaohs to maintain control over their subjects. By portraying themselves as gods, they commanded respect, obedience, and loyalty from their people. 2. Ruling through symbolism and ritual. Every crown, scepter, pose, and ceremony was carefully designed to reinforce the divine legitimacy of the pharaoh. These symbols were not just regalia. They were psychological tools that served to remind the people of the pharaoh's divine right to rule. The double crown worn by the pharaoh symbolized his dominion over Upper and Lower Egypt. The ritualistic acts were a form of mind control, God impressing upon the populace the idea that the pharaoh was indeed chosen by the gods. 3. Architecture as mind control. The massive monuments like the pyramids, obelisks, and temples were not just tombs or places of worship. They were designed to have a profound impact on the minds of the people. The sheer scale of these structures was intended to awe and humble the viewer, placing the pharaoh firmly in the realm of the gods. The architecture was a form of propaganda that served to glorify the pharaoh and his achievements. 4. Fear and reverence worked together. The pharaoh wielded a dual force, Mayat, representing order, balance, and justice, and the threat of chaos. He was both the embodiment of harmony and the enforcer of its preservation. This duality worked on the minds of the Egyptians. They revered the pharaoh as the bringer of order, but also feared his wrath if that order was disrupted. This complex relationship between reverence and fear kept the population under control. 5. They used myth as propaganda. Myths like the Osiris myth, where Osiris, the god of the underworld, was killed and resurrected by his wife Isis, were not just stories, but state-controlled narratives. These myths were used to justify the pharaoh's rulership, royal succession, and divine right to rule. The pharaohs manipulated the collective belief systems of the Egyptians to maintain control over their subjects. 6. Pharaohs controlled the afterlife narrative. The Egyptians believed that the pharaoh had the power to intercede on behalf of his people with the gods, particularly in the realm of the afterlife. This belief gave the pharaoh unmatched moral authority. Loyalty to the pharaoh was not just a political choice, it was a matter of ensuring one's place in the afterlife. The pharaohs exploited this belief to maintain control over their subjects. 7. Art was psychological messaging. From sculptures to paintings, the image of the pharaoh was carefully crafted to project power, strength, and divinity. The pharaoh was consistently portrayed as an idealized version of himself, always looking youthful and godlike, even in old age. This deliberate imagery served to erase any doubts, weakness, or dissent from the minds of the populace. The art was a form of propaganda that glorified the pharaoh and made him seem invincible. 8. Controlled identity from birth. The process of creating a pharaoh began long before he took the throne. From the moment he was born, he was subjected to a lifetime of conditioning. Often their names included divine associations, further blurring the line between God and man. They were trained in the temple schools to see themselves as chosen by the gods. By the time he ascended to the throne, he had been molded into the perfect vessel for the divine ruler. 9. The use of mystery and secrecy. Certain rituals, especially those performed within the innermost sanctums of temples, were hidden from the general public. This created a sense of mystique and sacred distance around the pharaoh, deepening the psychological reverence the people had for him. The use of secrecy made the pharaoh seem more godlike and powerful in the eyes of his subjects. 10. Power was inherited, not earned, but justified spiritually. The pharaoh's power was inherited, not earned. However, the Egyptians were conditioned to accept this system. The pharaohs were often depicted as handpicked by the gods. This narrative made the pharaoh's ascension to the throne seem divinely ordained. Regardless of his competence or qualifications, the emphasis was on the spiritual justification of power rather than its acquisition. 11. It dictated time itself. Pharaohs established calendars, decreed festivals, and reset time after major reigns. For example, the reign of King Tut was so significant that time was recalculated to make him the first pharaoh. Pushing Ramses to back several decades, this allowed them to psychologically reset reality. Pharaohs became the anchors of time, making their rule seem eternal and immutable. People measured their lives based on the pharaoh's reign, further cementing his importance in their minds. 12. Death was not the end, but a promotion in death. A pharaoh became Osiris, the god of the underworld and ruler of the afterlife. Tombs were not just burial chambers, but resurrection chambers. The pharaohs personified the cycle of death and rebirth, a concept central to Egyptian religion. The Egyptians believed that the pharaoh would rise from the dead to take his rightful place among the gods. This belief made the pharaoh seem immortal, ensuring that even in death, he held supreme power over his subjects. In conclusion, the pharaohs of ancient Egypt were not just rulers, they were figures of immense power and influence. Their hold over their subjects went beyond the physical realm, delving deep into the minds of the Egyptians. They utilized symbolism, architecture, mythology, and art to create a psychological hold over the populace. By understanding the secrets of their rule, gain insight into one of the most fascinating civilizations in human history and the enduring legacy of the pharaohs. Now let us know your thoughts about the psychological secrets of ancient Egypt's divine rulers. Do you think there is anything else that contributed to the pharaohs' hold on their subjects? Share your ideas in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on our latest videos. Thank you for watching.